So I'm a coach, so I brought my clipboard tonight and dressed down a little bit. So we want to share with you, as our last story, it's a family story involving three generations on the stage here. So I have with me Jeff Watney, his wife Chelsea Watney, their daughter Addison, and this is Chip Brongart, who's coaches with me, and his daughter is Chelsea, and of course his granddaughter is Addison. So we want to talk to you about FCA teams, and again, this three-generational story. FCA teams give us the opportunity to potentially minister to the whole entire family and not just the athlete. So my name's Tim Hines. I'm the FCA Teams Ministry Director. The teams ministry that we have is 14 teams. They're varsity high school teams. So if you kind of picture a school with an athletic department, except it's not brick and mortar, that's kind of what our teams are. We also have teams like Chelsea coaches that are club teams, and Chelsea coaches one of our FCA club teams along with her father, Chip. So first we're going to start off with you, Chelsea, as the athlete. Yeah. And so Chelsea, tell us how you got involved with FCA and how the Lord used you through the FCA ministry.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I actually went to Hartford Tech as well, many, many years before Ariana. Our huddle was, I was just telling Evan back there that it was about five kids. It wasn't very popular. And so a teammate of mine, Jen Cook, came to me and was like, hey, we've got this power camp, and I'd really love for you to come lead a huddle. So power camp, as mentioned before, is a multi-sport camp designed kind of like a VBS. You get to do your sport and learn about God and be in huddles, and I had the privilege to lead a huddle, and it was really fun. It was really fun.
Awesome. So I know for us talking earlier, you had shared how kind of God used FCA not just working through you, but also kind of filled a gap when you were in high school.
Yeah.
You know, you were part of a small church, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my church growing up was really, really small. I was blessed to have my grandfather be my pastor, but our youth group was really lacking. And so, like, getting to be a huddle leader was my first experience really sharing my faith and sharing it on a platform where it wasn't really just my cousins or my grandparents or my mom, dad. I was able to just kind of get in there and get my first real hand in being the hands and feet of Jesus. I wasn't the best at it yet, but after 3 power camps, I felt really strong, and then I continued my journey with FCA at Eastern University. Where our huddle was also really weak, but it really just put a passion in my heart for being able to continue to grow my faith and do my sport at the same time.
Awesome. So you mentioned college, and that's where your husband kind of comes in.
Yeah.
So Jeff, tell us how God used FCA in college to impact you in college. And was it Temple University, I believe?
Yep.
Yeah.
Temple University, played football there, and I never heard of FCA growing up. I'm from North Jersey, so when I got to Temple, the huddle leader there was also our team chaplain, Terry Hill, and he introduced me to FCA, and I got heavily involved. So yeah, that's how my journey started with FCA.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit more to that story, though. Can you kind of tell us the story of how you and Chelsea met through the FCA huddle there at Temple?
I was slick, Tim. Let me tell you, I was slick. So.
Okay. Take it easy.
Eastern's huddle and Temple's huddle came together for a huddle, and the area rep at the time, Jorge Vallejo, was helping lead, and so Chelsea and a group of athletes came to Temple University, and at the end, I went up to her and said, hey, awesome having you and your teammates and whatnot, we should exchange numbers, and I can let you know when we're having other events. I didn't care about the other events. I just wanted to get our number. That was my intention.
Okay, so a lot of good stuff came of it, obviously. But tell us about the impact, especially the the huddle leader at Temple. What was the greatest impact that the huddle at Temple had on you?
Going from a small school in Jersey to a big Division I program, the exposure that I got to what the world is like compared to the world that really God has laid out before me really helped me stay grounded and to live for God's kingdom and not the world that we are in.
Yeah, so awesome. So basically you had some good mentors and you got really discipled there. And again, lots of good stuff came out of it. So let's go to the third person in this generational story, Coach Chip. So again, we know that you and Chelsea volunteered together at that power camp way back when. And so tell us how you got kind of like re-engaged with FCA.
So 11 years passed since that 2008 power camp, and just finished coaching my 6th season at Hartford Tech Girls Lacrosse program, and learned that the new head coach coming in from out of state had just selected a parent of a player to be her assistant, and didn't want to have a second assistant. So I wasn't going to be returning in the spring of 2019. And I remembered a couple of years before that, you and I had been talking, and you invited me to join FCA lacrosse coaching staff with you. And at the time, I had a lot of good relationships with parents and their players and so on. And at that time, it wasn't the right thing for me. So now, as they say, the door closes and a window opens. And I reached out, like you remember, and you said the offer still stood, and I joined you in 2019, and I've been coming back every year since then.
Yeah, we got a good team going, good coaching staff. So I know when we had talked earlier, you said that how different the atmosphere was on the FCA team versus other teams that you've been involved with. Kind of share with everybody kind of how our teams are different.
Mm-hmm. It's just a big atmosphere difference among coaches. You as a head coach, you involve both of us assistant coaches in leading practice drills, leading devotions to the team, just like you do. But the biggest difference I see is among the players. And, we've got a wide range of Christian development among our players, and it just is so cool to see the girls minister to each other, leading devotions after practice from time to time, and then getting one player sit in front of the team bench while every player on the team calls out something that they love about their teammate, and we call it spotlighting, and just seeing them grow in their faith. Going to the one player that went to a private Catholic high school and didn't know what a devotion was, and after we did one, she went up to Coach Tim. She said, "Hey, that was really cool. What do you call that?"
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, and we won't. Yeah. So, so you mentioned the fellowship amongst the coaches and the atmosphere and the way the players get along relationally. What else? Again, we were talking about some of the training that you received as an FCA coach that was really a stark difference than other teams that you've been a part of. Right. Share with us about that.
So before FCA, I was trained and got certified as a USA lacrosse coach, and went through their Positive Coaching Alliance program, but it was nothing like what FCA offers through what used to be called three-dimensional coaching is now 360 coaching, where, as Steve mentioned earlier, we talk about not just the X's and O's, the tactics of playing the game, but the body, but the mind and the spirit, and connecting with players that way as young adults. They're not just players or tools on the field, and just developing that relationship with them and helping them grow.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Coach. So we had Chelsea, the athlete, at the beginning, helping out her dad at a power camp, and how God used you through the different things that FCA offered, whether there was a huddle at your school or power camp. And then we have Jeff, the athlete in college, and then Chip, the coach. Now let's get to Chelsea, the coach. Okay, so you just are now coaching one of the FCA club lacrosse teams. So tell us about how you re-engaged with FCA after college, and now have children of your own, playing the sport that you love.
Yeah. So we did have club experience prior to FCA. We are only in 6th grade. She's only in 6th grade. So, so we didn't really we weren't looking for the high school level yet, but club has kind of been in our wheelhouse here level-wise. We've gotten to that level, but we were with a different club, and I actually kind of let her lead the way. I was coaching, but she wasn't really feeling it. She was kind of like, I don't know, Mom, this is just different. Very, I shouldn't say worldly, but it is. The environment was different there. It was not as uplifting. I felt like I couldn't coach the way I really wanted to. But at the same time, we just felt the Lord was pushing us some different direction. And I didn't know what that was yet because, being around the different tournaments, you don't see FCA and everything. And I, just was like, one day I was like, all right, well, let's figure it out. I had Dad actually reach out to one of the club director at the time. And I said, well, what can we get? What can we get started? And at the moment, I was like, oh, maybe she can just play up, and because we do have a 2028 team. And but then I just felt the tug to say, let's get it started. It's had a rocky start. It hasn't been. We had to really just pray on having girls, and but it's been great. I have loved being able to share my faith with my team, like being able to pray over my girls and pray with my girls, and then also just be surrounded by the club coaches themselves. They have just been awesome, and then now Steve alongside, and it's just been really great to be able to share my faith with my players, but also share my faith with my other club coaches and directors, and be able to have that environment that's uplifting on all areas, not just as a player, but a coach. And
So for coaching other club teams and now coaching an FCA team, what would you say was the biggest difference for you?
the faith aspect, just being able to have the positive environment. I know that if I win or lose a game, it doesn't matter. It's all for the glory of God, and my identity is in Him. So it's not in the game that I coach.
Yeah, and I loved how you mentioned about you praying for your players.
Yeah.
Because I always tell coaches, pull out your roster. That's your prayer list, and that's what you do for the entire season. Well, that's awesome, great. So now we're going to talk to the youngest generation, which is Addison, the player. So, Addison, you've been on the FCA Girls Club Lacrosse team for, I guess, a year now, right? You got summer season coming up.
Yeah.
You excited about it?
Yeah, I'm really excited.
All right, cool. So tell us, what's been different for you? I asked your mom, what's been different for you as a player compared to, other clubs that you've played for and other experiences you've had with other teams?
FCA has definitely shown me that being a part of a team that grows each other's faith, I can also play the sport that I love, and play not only for my team and for my friends, but for God, and grow closer to Him. And the environment is definitely different. Everyone is kind, they build each other up, and they're always there for each other whenever we need them.
So you play on an FCA team, but let me ask you, would you say that all your teammates have a relationship with the Lord?
Not everyone. I actually had this one incident. So our team decided that for one of our games we would write verses on each other's arms. And one of my teammates came up to me and asked me what a Bible verse was. She's like, "Is it a chapter in a Bible?" And I explained to her that that's part of it, but what's a verse is what's in the chapter.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So you're playing for an FCA team, but there's still a little bit of a mission field there. So God can still use you even with your teammates, not with just, fun relationships, but actually sharing the Lord, right? Good stuff. So I'm going to hop on that story too. I know the team that Coach Chip and I coach, he already alluded to one of our players coming up to us after devotion and just saying, "Hey, what did we just do?" And we were like, "Yeah, that's a devotion." And she's like, "I love that," And so the great thing about sharing your faith in your sport, using sports as a platform, this girl, her mom, emailed me and said, "Yeah, she loves the team, and she's not only increased in her social confidence, which is the most important, and she's increasing in her knowledge of, faith, but it's also she's regained her love for the sport." And we get that so much with our club teams, and also with the teams that are part of our team ministry, is that we constantly have players and parents come to us and say, "My daughter was about to quit, and she's now part of your team, and she loves her sport again. So, hey, 3 generations here. Guys, thanks so much for sharing with everybody tonight.
you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Guys, thank you.